people editing it. But it's so much easier to restore a page than it is to edit it, that they only have to deal with the most psychotic trolls. Trolls that want it easy, which is most of them, they don't really bother with trying to hack into Wikipedia. It's all the people that have some political joke to play or some axe to grind, or really, really ardent trolls, because their trolling doesn't last long. And you usually, when you go to Wikipedia, odds are you're not going to see the evidence of it, unlike every other website where you easily see the evidence right away. So I think there's ways, somehow ways, I like your system of a trust network, where when you nominate people into the trust network, it reflects back on you, and, you know, not that you'd be punished or banned, but more like that it would hurt your trust level, and suddenly you're not having as big an influence on what is on the, you know, on the featured page or something, or whatever it is that you're helping to contribute to, because these people have to contribute to all kinds of things.
Yeah, I just think it would encourage people too. I mean, if you knew your behavior was going to be, you know, was going to impact somebody else, and somebody else you actually liked, you might be a little more careful about what you're going to do or what you're going to say, because it's not about just you anymore. It's about the person, you know, who's going to get, you know, who you're going to be shooting in the foot.
Well, you mentioned darts, right? You only get 5 darts a month or whatever it was, and that if they're fucking around under your authority, not your authority, your sponsorship, that you're not going to get more than 4 darts or 2 darts. It reduces your ability to use the dart. Therefore, you'll be more inclined to sponsor those who are coming up or not going to suppress your ability or your authority.
Yes. But I think there's also ways to, you know, it's not just about commenters, because I think they're sort of irrelevant. I mean, for me, it's more about obliging or forcing the debate to a higher level, too. You know, the videos themselves have to kind of stay on subject, and they have to kind of be forced to deal with the subject. You know, there's a lot of running away on the internet. You know, people say shit and then they run away.
That's the kind of feature I'm getting at. Those are the ones that I have in mind, where, you know, if there's tools to make people stay on point, for the people that are actually trying to stay in the debate, and just because they're humans, they get off point and they swirl around like we all can be accused of or even do, right? Fine. It'll help us pin that down. But for the trolls, I think that's going to scare them away. You know, that fine tune of scanning is going to subject them to, you know, flack back, you know, and ridicule of their own, and just, and it'll make it easier that if they're trying to defend what they do as satire, that it gets categorized as satire and is not visible for people that are trying to follow an argument. So yeah, I think there are definitely ways like that.
Yeah, but some of it's just
but
kind
of sick of it.
You know, I really have a despise for these people who make videos and then delete them. You know, because it's just such bullshit. You know, they say their little shit,
too, yeah.
and then they bail on it. You know, and you're just like, well, what the hell is that crap? You just, you know, you fucking talk your shit, get your views, and then you bail on it.
Yeah, no, and I've got people that come and try to ask me to do this, or this person's bothering them to do this, or will you say that, and they're especially the kind that like to send you even a private video and delete it, which is like, to me, that's like, yeah, I agree. I think the deletion thing is the most slimiest thing. I don't agree. I mean, there's definitely cases where you have to or should delete, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Like, my main thing is just to have something where you could pin someone down, right? Because then when you have the worst trolls are the ones that are totally this way, as well as being, you know, they're vindictive, but they're using some grain of truth that makes someone, catches someone, maybe just because their own sensibility of like, you know what, I have to answer that. The thing is, if you had a system where any number of people could go ahead and attach fact checks to everything that's said, a lot of times it would happen naturally, because the people watching those videos know the truth. They're going to start trying to, and you can't get the truth. It's a lot like Wikipedia, but you could get a trust network so that in fact you could choose, networks to trust, and they would show the truth, and the arguments would more naturally get fact checked. And I think a lot of the people that are commenters, don't make videos, they're very interested, and this is a way for them to apply what they've learned from watching the conversation, and it would give them a way to express. Because I see that in comments and stuff, right? People that you never see in videos, that they're all frustrated because they know the case was this or that way, and sure enough, they follow the argument. They may be right, may be wrong, but they have a real opinion, you know what I mean? And that should be able to be put into a trust network and come out with statistics that give the person an indication of what's going on, and free someone that's trying to just talk about their subject from having to say, oh, no, I'm not a Nazi, or, oh, what are you talking about? And all this bullshit that's distracting. Just somehow get those distractions to more naturally filter themselves out. And I'm also want to use the Flow Player and find some public domain video source. I mean, I'd like to have this thing be, the way I've written it, I'm doing it for ease on Google stuff, but I have made it so I can move it easily elsewhere. At this point, I don't know, couple weeks to do it to an art, and that's including learning some other server. And I'd like to be prepared to do that with YouTube too, because they can really screw the whole thing over easy.
Well, yeah, I mean, they can change things anytime they want, but yeah, I mean, the theme of it's pretty much the same, so yeah. Yeah, I guess the Flow Player, I guess it'll play MP4s and FLV, so it's pretty good in that respect. I mean, you got those two pretty basic formats. So, but
and it has an API too. I checked, like you.
Yeah, well, you don't need to go.
What about what if you had someone? If you had a debate site, and maybe it uses some other websites like YouTube for the debates, where people can always go there and delete their videos. And you don't give them a way to delete videos through the debate site, but they could go to YouTube. And there's a couple ways to work around that, but I think you could just say, well, if you delete a video that's used in any of our debates, that have been entered, it was entered in that, then you lose your account over there. You could try to police it that way, or also. No, I guess you can't do this. I was thinking if your server made its own YouTube account for them, then you could control that and not let them delete it. But I would like for a debate site to make some way that you can't, or are very much discouraged from ever deleting any video that's already been entered in a debate structure.
Yeah, well, I guess you could always do that through backups or something, but I don't even know if that, I mean, that doesn't worry me as much as,
you just lose your currency.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather get to some point where the debate itself, like the content of the debate, breaks free of the redundancy. I mean, how many times have we argued about free will or some other subject, and it just keeps coming up, the same crap arguments over and over. The whole atheism Christian thing, it just keeps going over and over. Oh, good night.
Yeah, that's another main thing. And I think that'll help get rid of the trolls too, actually, because of the fact that they love this big circular round. That's how trolling works. It's like they know they can go into an abortion, thing and say women should be barefoot in the kitchen, and they'll get a response for the last 40 years and the next 40, So if you could stop that wheel, I think naturally their environment wouldn't be present as much. And we could also learn to move on and only repeat ourselves when we really specifically think we've improved our argument. I think we do improve our arguments over time, but that's not why we repeat ourselves. We repeat ourselves because we have to explain ourselves again to people that seem like they haven't heard it, even when they had, and people that just haven't heard it. So,
well, I know, but
exactly.
that's the argument. It's like, yeah, I think you have to break it down to both text and video, so you have to have references on these, and keywords, the tags have to actually mean something. These tags are a very powerful tool, and it's completely useless in these formats. I mean, even creating this group, right? I mean, Stickham gave me 10 choices to choose what this fucking group is about, and none of those choices have anything to do with what this group is about. You know, and it's just a joke. I mean, what's the fucking point of having these identifiers that have... look at the new thing they added. I mean, they take away the 5-star thing, and then they give us this stupid choice of 5 dopey words, like ouch and all this bullshit. And you're just like, what the fuck use is this crap? I mean, all these unspecified qualifiers, the keywords are shit, the tags are shit. You know, that's a really important feature here, because then you could sit there and isolate an argument, you could make the argument, and you could always reference and just say, well, just go back to this argument, you asshole. It's been made, it's done. 70% of people are persuaded by this argument, so we've already done this, okay? We're already, you know what I mean? It's like when you're arguing abortion, there's 3 or 4 parts to the argument. There's the ethical argument about social policy, and then there's this religious and biological arguments. I mean, these are all different arguments.
Yeah, one of the...
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, but I like the psychological idea of creating a site that deals with the potential trolls, dealing with them on the same level that they're supposed to express themselves as trolls. Because really, I'll tell you, deter the troll from contributing.
You just have to make it more worth it. In some way.
Well, this is another thing. This is a thing I was working on too, but it's next. But yeah, a way to go through the arguments, to walk through the arguments and look at replies and browse them. And I agree that there's tags, but I also just think that there could be, well, it's hard to explain, but I think you can use spatial kinds of metaphors and things, interfaces, to let people with these trust networks form browsing structures that you can pretty much walk around. And you could, you could get familiar with the whole argument, because these things would, the places, the nodes, are promoted there by these trust networks we're talking about, right? And so, you would explore the whole thing. You might not see every video or every, website that was in reference and every textual node, but you'd see, whatever percentage, depending on how thorough you were, and you could take a long time to go through it. And it might be a little bit dynamic, but since you have the trust network and the filters, there's actually more than one version. So it could be changing, but you might have a snapshot of it that you can explore for as long as you want, of how it was on this date in 2001. And yeah, basically, the tag thing is great. You need to do that. And really, the cutting edge of this kind of stuff has moved on from there. And YouTube, the only thing they ever got right is that they stream videos somewhat consistently, and their player worked pretty well when a lot of players were still hanging. But now, like, the Flow player seems more reliable, and it's not that hard to store videos on the net. The rest of their interface has always been crap. It really is crap. I mean, the way they do comments, easy. I mean, for all the money they've got, just 1 or 2 guys, it's still just one program. They can't get any of the stuff right. The tags they have, totally not used. I mean, there's no clustering, there's no tag, one of those word pictures that shows you how which tags are popular. A lot of things that have been standard for 10 fucking years in tag land, and using tags. It's like tags were hot 10 years ago, and people learned how to use them and they moved on. And it's really sad how behind the times YouTube is.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no, it'd be also nice that if you just clicked on somebody's name, like here in Stickcam, you get a list of things like kick, block, all that kind of crap. But what if you clicked on somebody's name and you got an instant little profile, like what's their commenting rate? How many comments per day do they make? How many videos have they uploaded? How many, it'd be nice to have all that demographic information available just by clicking on somebody's name, instead of having to load their channel to get some vague notion of who the fuck they are. I'd like to know who the fuck is commenting.
Right.
And why shouldn't I even be able to block all comments from people who have accounts that are less than a month old, or some other standard like that? Why should we even, why should some videos even tolerate them as commenters? Well, I don't need somebody commenting who hasn't established themselves as being part of this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. No, and for the stock accounts, and there's all kinds of way a person can figure out how to use those filters. And see, I think it's a big problem when you have a third party imposing those, but it basically, when you yourself have decided, I don't want to hear from people that are under this age, or any of these things that would be wrong to, like, close the base of business maybe, or whatever, the sky's the limit. That's the kill file idea. If I'm censoring who I have to listen to, that's not censoring. That's me deciding who the hell I listen to. That's free speech. It's called free hearing part of free speech, right? So the kill file, the sky's the limit. I agree with you. That's, how long you've been there. You have to make a whole system where you can define criteria, because it could almost be infinite, or like something you'd want to let people define themselves, right? Write a little formula based on all the database elements. And they could even write their own formula, and maybe they'll invent the one that's perfect for a particular subject matter. So, as long as you are deciding, and the way computers work, you can make a website custom to you those people aren't there as far as you're concerned, and it doesn't have to be totally gone. There could be a hidden, site link for when you want to go see what's going on, or if those guys manage to bother people you haven't blocked and you were like, what the hell is going on? That'll still happen, but you'll be in much more control of it, and and you're kind of on your own there. I mean, have a problem of I always want to look at the hidden stuff, and then I look at it and go, oh, I'm glad that's hidden, but I end up compulsively wanting to see what I'm missing,
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten over my curiosity, yeah, I just think that, like I said, the whole point is to keep the distractions to a minimum, and to keep the conversation evolving towards clarity of, more precise language. And that's why I think the keywords would be important, and to standardize what kind of words you could use as keywords. So, like, everybody wouldn't be spelling free will differently. Everybody wouldn't be referencing subjects with different words. They would all mean something, and that would be the real value, is to be able to connect things based on real similarities, not these fake ones that exist now. Because now you can type in a keyword and you can get all kinds of different references that aren't common references. They aren't about the same thing.
Well, instead of using hard counters to problems like that, you could just use like incentives. Like if you post a video, you have to type in what the video is about, and then you get some pop-up message before you send it. Like, have you watched these videos on this subject?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't think that would hurt. I think it would just be great if we could just absolutely be able to do relevant keyword searching, that was reliable, and that videos would be connected based on about how connected they are to the subject, and not whether they spend 1 minute in the video talking about free will, but whether the video is about free will, and about brains, and about, there's got to be some way to qualify it, so you don't have all this junk and noise and crap, that comes up. I mean, you type in my name and it's all crap. I mean, my videos don't show up, a bunch of shit shows up.
If you use a thread function, like you start threads for discussions, and then you can like see popular threads and how long they've gone, and if you want to make an insertion to the discussion, you had to watch certain videos up until that point of the thread.
Yeah, and also the videos need to be marked based on whether somebody is for it or against it, and how well the argument is made for or against it. So there has to be some sort of group function where people who are of a like mind are going to reward videos that speak their mind, that say what they want to say. And so they need to be the ones exclusively saying, this is our best argument. You can't have a bunch of trolls defining the value of a video. What the fuck's good is this stupid thumb up, thumb down thing? It doesn't mean a damn thing. It's completely useless. It just counts how many enemies you have. What the fuck's the point? What would be more important is where the opinions of people who actually care about this subject. Do they think it's a good video? Do they think it speaks well for their cause? Like, well, I'm anti-slavery, and here's a Lincoln video, and this Lincoln video kicks fucking ass. All right, but the last thing you want is a bunch of asshole slave owners thumbing down the video. What the fuck is that going to tell you? Oh, the slave owners don't like it. I mean, it's almost like a reverse barometer the way it exists now, because the only way you find out whether something's a good argument is you see how many thumbs down it has, because maybe that's going to be the best argument, because all the enemies of the subject are going to thumb the video down.
Hey, okay, I was curious who said the idea about a requirement. See, that's the kind of idea I like. When I said you need a general way to define requirements for who can post or who you see, that's a great, I like that idea that you would have to have watched earlier videos in certain, because not every debate, but like in some debate that has reached some trusted status through these trust network systems, that would be a great requirement. I would love to know that everybody has at least, because there's ways to fake it. Maybe even if the player can tell if you watch the whole thing, like my player could watch it, could tell if you'd paused it. You'd have to play it all the way through to fool it, but you could walk away from the computer. But somebody that at least had to do that, that's a lot more than people that didn't even have to read the title and just clicked on the picture and made a comment. So that's a good idea. And the thing about everything I was going to say, Gary, is I think what would be cool then is you have to have a certain level, probably a low level, but you have to have your first, threshold of merit badge to invent keys. And then everybody else, if they want to add a keyword, a tag rather, to the video or the comment or anything, then they they have to use this pre-selected category, because then people would look through the categories. They wouldn't add a new spelling of free will, and there could be some control, and yet it would get quickly populated, right? And it would be a low-level thing, so you wouldn't have to be there that long before you could maybe add one. But I agree with you, the tags have been so ridiculous. But also YouTube just doesn't even understand them. Free-form tags, there's algorithms to find out that both things were free will. People have addressed those problems certain ways. And YouTube, when you can tell how they think about them when they suggest the tags. They suggest, the default tags are, it's a video. Okay, that's a good tag at a video site. It's a webcam video. Okay, great. No, I want to categorize it by the kind of camera that took it. Yeah, and then down at the bottom where it has the little Ajax one, it's no better. It's like they don't understand that at all, which is sad. But I agree with you. I think freeform tags are a little bit of a failure, and you need to have some way that's semi-freeform, where it can grow and there can be.
Well, I mean, there just has to be real descriptive language. I mean, is this video a philosophy video? Is this a funny video? Is this a joke video? Is this satire? Is this poetry? I mean, all this stuff there's got to be some way to categorize it better than these. We're given shit choices.
YouTube mainly uses tags right now for two things. It's like coming up with that list of recommended videos and coming up with similar videos in that list to the right of any given video. And that's the only thing YouTube cares about, I think.
Well, it doesn't even care that well is the point, but the point is all those tags are completely driven by how many people are making crappy videos that use these stupid keywords. And so the whole thing gets perverted because of the way pop culture perverts all language.
Well, actually, another thing, I don't know if you know this, but when the whole tagging craze got real big with sort of the semantic web idea, and was a little faddish, but it's, the problem everybody made implementing it is the other people are supposed to tag your stuff, not you. The only ones that got it right was the music systems. All figured this out. Other people are supposed to tag the video, and then the statistics of the same tag being used 100,000 times versus 5 times makes a difference. Now, if it's been used 10,000 times, it might be right, and the 100,000 times might be wrong because pop culture might be stupid. But if it's 5 times, and a lot of the noise and the troll noise, you can filter out the noise, but there's still signal of whatever people really think. The tags just say what the viewers think. So that idea of doing searches by people putting in their own tags, I mean, well, ridiculous, and you can see people figured it out right away because it's one of the main ways to like hunt for subscribers, right? You put in somebody's having a drama, you put that in as a tag, and it comes up in the search.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not, the spamming of the tags is bad enough, but that's part of it. But that's right. I mean, I'm assuming you have to have some mechanism of accountability. Obviously, if a video is falsely tagged, that should be one of the things that gets it demoted. So anytime, I still think the user ought to be ultimately responsible, but I mean, again, I don't want the trolls to have the power to tag my videos.
Well, a lot of these problems are solved by just like having some system that puts legitimacy levels on different users.
Well, again, it's top down as I'm seeing it. Again, that's the argument. You can't allow the bottom up thing to happen because the bottom sucks. So you got to do the top down thing and keep it clean from the beginning. You got to stop the weeds from growing. Because once they grow, you're done.
I had a question to you about blocking, Gary. If you're in a system and when you block someone and they can't comment in your thread anymore, do you care if they are still other people that haven't blocked them see them commenting in your thread? Does that bother you? That they're still communicating for some people in that space?
Well, it bothers me that they're given a voice because
someone that does block, since I don't that much.
Yeah, well, look, it's like that twit from Uranus. I mean, he's just an asshole, and so yeah, I see him comment on your videos or somebody else's videos, and I'm just like, well, why do what is this? Why does this asshole get to change the subject? Why does this asshole get to decide the character of this comment section? And they do it. They change the whole fucking character of the comment section.
Maybe when you have a debate, when you start an official debate, at a website that did that, what you could do is that you have to combine your kill filters, right? And like somebody coming in new to the website or not logged in, and basically unless somebody had friended one of the people in the kill files, they would see those comments either. They have to go out of their way to turn that person back on just because the 5 people that are having this formal debate had agreed on the kill filter of who's not going to be in there, because part of what they get for agreeing to take part and not delete the videos they make and etc. is some sort of a clean slate with some of their kill file rules. Now meanwhile you can still, those people aren't censored, the database is filling their stuff, but like if the debate was between TED Talk people and it was covered by the news, when CNN went there, they wouldn't see any of the people that were kill filed. All the trolls would be filtered out.
What I'm sort of saying is that I wouldn't resort to blocking people if there was accountability. So I mean, if these assholes were known for what they are, if they didn't have the same voice, I mean, you could have Albert Einstein and Twit from Uranus have the same power in the comment section, and that to me is bullshit. So until the twit from Uranus is identified as the troll he is, in some manner, I'm saying fuck this guy. Why should I give him a voice on my videos? Why should he have as loud a voice as Albert Einstein? And why should he have just as loud a voice as Albert Einstein? That's bullshit. He's a fucking retard and should say it right on his fucking screen name.
That's what the trust networks do then. The trust networks address that, right? Because what you're saying then is good, because you're saying, no, if the trust network worked right, we could identify these jerks, and there was a red mark there, and you could choose I think you have to be able to choose to do the kill file and not see the comments. Because sometimes you want to scan really quick, or someone's at work, or they're really quick, why should they read that? Then maybe they're home at night and they're like, I'm going to look what the trolls say, I'm really bored. But then they're in control of when they do it. So, but the point is, you're basically marking all these. If you had a trust network you trusted, in other words, a real trust network, right, and you had control over how you trusted it, and you would see the community, the community's version, that the statistical average, if you saw that working, then you wouldn't mind that the people were still in the database and didn't have their login
Yeah,
taken
well,
away.
well,
and
you know,
still had their
when I
own,
originally,
you know,
I originally made a message board that I wrote. What I did is I gave people, based on their conduct, I made their text bigger and darker. So the bigger an asshole they were, the lighter and smaller their text got, you know, when they commented. And I thought that was a pretty good way to discourage people from being complete assholes, is because if they became complete assholes, their text got harder and harder to read. All right, their comments got more and more invisible. And I thought it was just a really great way to make it quite obvious who's commenting.
That's great. That's absolutely great. We're of like mind, and that's basically what I think you need to do. You minimize and you power down, and then it also helps people that are just being assholes, that are going through something, or because this is their touchy subject, have time to react, you know, and it's not black and white, and it's a long way before you get treated like the village idiot, which I still don't appreciate, but, you know, it's at least it's a long way till you're so maligned by everybody that people that should have no leg to stand on still kick you. But anyway, so yeah, that's interesting. No, I like that idea. That's a pretty clever idea. I agree.
A kind of privileged comment, like, ability for people who are involved in the debate and who are communicating and relaying videos back and forth, where, I don't know, are you guys familiar with SoundCloud at all?
Yeah, well, I've seen some of the cloud kind of things, and, you know, that's sort of interesting. But again, it's not. There's no way to clean it. I mean, there's, you know, once it breaks, it breaks.
Right. So how about allowing people who are actually in a debate and who are committed to the kind of circle and are involved? What about letting, you know, you have regular comments, you have normal comments at the bottom of the page, and then there's this kind of cool feature where maybe you can even make the person who's sharing the video accountable by allowing people to leave annotations in the kind of time at certain moments in the videos that's been displayed, and that's kind of, I think that's a really good feature for just allowing, or just for accountability even, for being able to, like, make real citations in time with the video, and then have that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, are you familiar with the little, like, every time the video plays, at a certain moment, the comment or the annotation or the reply or kind of argument pops up, and that's kind of, I think privilege, giving certain people that kind of privilege might be enticing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's all about this accountability thing. So again, as long as your history travels with you, and so you are known for what you are, okay? I mean, I swear a lot, so I think my videos should be labeled. They should be, you know, it should be right there. It should be a little mark on it or something that this guy, you might hear the word cunt, and you might hear fuck you. And I don't have any problem with that. I think the same kind of accountability has to follow these commenters. I mean, if you're just a commenter and you're, you know, what videos do you comment on and what's the character of your comments? And they have to follow some certain rule. And so, yeah, if you're a little foul-mouthed, little, you know, piece of shit, you should be able, people should be able to know you for what you are. And they should be able to click on a page and see what your comments look like.
So, okay, two things. One, the tool I just made does exactly what you're saying. If you make these annotations, then they get highlighted also when you play the video. But the other thing on accountability, I was curious, Gary, so how did the people get ranked down so that their font size was lower? I mean, how
well, it was a board just run by me. So, you know, yeah, it was completely, I decided, okay, you talked shit, especially about somebody else, then I just demoted you, you know, and everybody knew what was happening. I mean, there was only like 10 people really participating regularly, so it wasn't a big deal, but, I mean, yeah, so I just did it.
I just want to check, Pyro, if you're reading private messages or if I'm wasting my time.
Wait, but Pyro, yours doesn't You're
I am, but it's hard. I don't give them as much attention. It's a lot like chat. I did mean to reply to the last one before I closed it. I mean, I think that's a good idea that you have some sort of a ranking system. I like the idea for which videos might be required, for example, in a network of a debate, to comment and things like this. My main comment is just that I want to go with trust networks. Moderators, I don't like moderators except for if they're, chosen by a trust network. And the sponsorship idea, I like that, but I don't see that as moderators in the traditional sense where, like, the guy that owns the site, has a hierarchy. I'm fine with the guy that starts the site, starts a seed group. That's great. That's organic. And then use a trust network to help make sure that doesn't get corrupt. So, yeah, that's my feedback on that. But no, I don't really have time to do the private messages, but I do read them. I read it, but it's hard for me. I don't like getting into the dual conversation. I'm usually listening to what people are saying, or I'm paying attention to the public chat.
I'm still going to argue for the idea that there still needs to be something within this mechanism that does make a distinction between somebody who's being malicious and somebody who's being honest in what they're trying to accomplish. And so I'm still going to argue that, like, say on any issue, if there's... Will you just shut up while somebody else is talking? Are you fucking retarded? Well, that was a dumb question. But anyway, the idea that the people who should be rating an argument are... Anyway, wherever I was. Yeah, they still got to be rated by the people who... Yeah, I think I got rid of them. Anyway, the people rating the argument should be the people who are on one side or the other side. So the people who are pro for an argument should be the ones establishing whether it's a good argument or not, or a good video, or it represents the cause well, and all that crap. There's just no point in having this negative thing. I mean, the negatives don't serve any purpose because they're used so maliciously. So it should only be positive capital that you can expend. So you can only support something, you can't destroy something.
Yeah, I think you have to form groups. You let people, and maybe this is, you have to have a rank with your trust rating or something, but to form a group, or maybe they're just by people befriending each other type thing, and then the people that are careful about it can name their group, get a reputation. Other people would know the reputation is regulated by the trust network and people in that group voting. If you had the right kind of users, this group could be, a bunch of physicists. And when they vote on somebody's scientific theory, it has some weight. It might have some actual weight. But even if they weren't physicists, they would be people you knew. You might trust their taste in physics, and you might be wrong.
Even better would be if I could decide what group or what members of the group I gave a shit about. So it'd be even better if I could just click like subscribing. Like, it'd be nice if I could subscribe to editorial opinion. So let's say I thought Pyro was a reliable editor. I mean, a reliable opiner on the quality of videos, or some 5 other people or 10 other people, and I could just subscribe to their opinions. And so I could do some weeding too. So not only would they be weeded by the other mechanisms, but they'd also be able to be weeded by people themselves who say, well, the group made a mistake in even including this asshole, so I'm going to eliminate his votes from from my visibility anyway, because I know he's a jackass.
If I could get a word in, take the anti-status clique for a second. If they started filtering messages, there would be a huge bias.
And so what? I mean, if they're making their argument, there should be a bias within their argument. So I mean, you know, there's just no point in arguing that it's about whoever speaks the loudest or whatever numbers have the most people. I mean, it's not about what opinion is popular. It's not about what opinion is, you know, who has the most sock accounts, who can rate the most videos. I mean, these aren't the standards that should decide whether a video has a status or not. So the point is try to glean out all of that crap and get to something that actually has credibility and where somebody is accountable for what they've done. All right, and where there's some sort of equality. I mean, why should I have to fight against somebody who has 10 sock accounts? I mean, what's the point of that? I thumb up a video, and the guy with 10 sock accounts puts 10 negatives on the video. Well, why should that be possible?
So on I wanted to talk about your point about the groups. You're saying it's basically the same kill file point. Basically, you need to be able to create groups. So with the trust network stuff that goes on like academically, you have this organic thing. It's usually entirely built by you trusting people one at a time. But to me, I think that's great, and that should be like an automatic feature, but you have to be able to consciously do it as well, in the sense that even though you might subscribe to 10 people consciously, with the trust network, you're sort of subscribing to people they trust too. So you want to be able to say, I like that guy's opinion, but he has bad taste in others. You know what I mean? So there has to be both levels, and at the bottom level of this software, the basic functions you're calling, the user, you, are deciding who the trust group is.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like having
giant trust network.
It's kind of like having a Democratic Party that would be open. Like the party could still be the party. The Democratic Party could decide who's a Democrat and who's not a Democrat, but you could always vote, like in some instant runoff way, for anybody who's outside the party as the nominee for the Democratic Party. So it's almost like you could force the group to accept members just by your inclusion of them as part of that group. So the users would also have some say about what a group compiles of, just because of if their voice is loud enough. And so it wouldn't just be it just wouldn't be the group that allows to define the group. It would also be the people who affiliate or associate with the group would also have a say in what the group is identified as.
Right, or even observe the group. People that observe the group get to say what the group really is. Like I could say the group of conservatives and politicians in the U.S. is that, you know, 90% of the Republican Party and 30% of the Democratic Party, and, you know, I believe that that's a more cohesive group than the Democrats are.
Yeah, and you could identify the blue dogs as what they really are, which is, you know, weak Republicans. So yeah, you could like almost put them where they belong in this other group. But yeah, I mean, well anyway, this is all stuff to be filtered through. But I mean, that's the whole bottom line, is this idea of filtering.
That's interesting. My main reason I asked you was just, I was wondering kind of if like Trust Network Solutions, where people still have their accounts and kind of upload their own videos and try to make their own points, is fine with you. If, you know, if they're diminished or somehow identified. And also, I mean, I wasn't going to ask you, but I totally agree with when you do that, in order not to be elitist, you do have to have, like you're saying, it's not a majority rules, it's a person ultimately is sovereign and decides who they trust. And then, because then that means you have to have some faith. I mean, you don't have to have faith, but of course you want to see that other people make good decisions as well. But I think given these kinds of tools, everybody has a community around them that will make decisions they're comfortable with, except for the really crazy people, because those people aren't comfortable at all, and they'll all group together in a chaotic way and be breaking up all the time, and that's sort of the point. It would allow cohesive people, whatever their idea is, to be cohesive. The people that refuse to be cohesive would sort of get taken out and turned into noise, and then you're left with the problem people are these cohesive groups that are like true forced loneliness or something, where or gang stalking maybe is a better, where really is a problem, but at least they're cohesive, and you can see that there they are. They sit there and you can identify them and figure out what to do, maybe send some medical treatment their way. You know what I mean? So it's kind of all good, because the real problem is the chaotic people that want to just make chaos and be bullshit, and they can be broken up. This kind of stuff we're talking about, I think, will break up their game, because they will, in a trust network, be cohesive only in everybody hates them. They'll disagree with everybody on each other on everything, and they'll start trolling each other more.
Well, and they'll also have nothing to represent them. I mean, they won't be part of anything that has any real content. So without content to be associated with, they'd also have no, they'd be able to gain no leverage, because you'd also gain leverage
Right.
in this whole thing by actually
Now, here's the
producing,
thing.
by actually being associated
Hey,
with people that
somebody-
produce content. You'd have to be associated with content producers. You couldn't just be a troll anymore, because you'd have to have the power you're going to get by
Right,
being
you have to
affiliated
have-
with an actual content producer. A content producer would actually act like you, or you're fucked.
Well, okay, that's an interesting tangent, but I was going to say this thing. Here's what I like about the kill file approach, okay? So, let's say so a troll, basically nobody's going to like them, they're not going to fit into any group. Right? Maybe a little tiny group of trolls, but that's a small number of 5 trolls does a lot of damage now, but in the trust network, 5 is really nothing, that amount of allies. It's hard to get a big group of trolls. They all hate each other. Anyway. So, but let's say you have an individual, like I might have used to been, where I was enough of a loner, I'm going to also not get into any group, because I hated groups. And fuck you, I'm not going in a group. If that person ends up in that static and noise, it doesn't matter, because anybody that really is interested in their individual position can use the kill file tools to see what they wanted to see at that time, and hopefully they grow from it. Whereas the trolls that are a problem, they are trying to impress other people. They're trying to convince other people that you hate elephants. They're trying, you know what I mean? They're trying to do group stuff. So, in other words, I'm saying, so many, like, moderation techniques punish the individual that truly is just a free thinker. As weird as they may or may not be, maybe the head of time of their time or whatever it is, they get thrown in jail with the miscreants. It's hard to, and you got to understand, like, you're running a website, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes.
Well, I know, but you're gonna
But this
gain,
kind of system
if you're doing that
doesn't
honestly,
do that.
Kiro, I think you're going to gain some credibility, just because somebody will recognize that you're trying to make an honest contribution if you're not just being a jackass troll. So I don't think those kind of people would have a problem.
Eventually.
You could be a passive user, and you just wouldn't have anybody who was important who hated you, right? I mean, realistically, if you had no demerits, you would have merits, because of the sense that you'd have no negatives, you'd have the positive of no negatives. So that you could, I mean, you could...
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's my point. And my point, though, is when you go down to this bottom where you have a bad reputation, if you're a decent person, this bad reputation doesn't amount to anything, because you're not blocked, you're not kicked, and you still have your own ability to control your own, the network you trust. You know what I mean? It's totally... If you suddenly decide you don't want to be, you want to make better communication with people, you can't. You haven't been exiled in the way that would be justified for people that really are just there to be jerks. And so that's my point. But I do agree that, even in a moderated system, they don't totally not work. There are trust networks just with groups of people and groups of moderators and stuff. It's just kind of over time they do break down and eventually, just usually shatter from all the animosities. But,
well, yeah.
because I've all wanted to solve this.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point is...
I wanted to solve this question because I've always...
Yeah, well, I mean, the point is... Go ahead.
I've always been... in my younger years, I was often kicked from boards and stuff. I'd go talk about language on a board where they didn't like my theory of language, so, and I understood why people had to moderate their community, but, I want to solve the problem of people get to moderate their community without actually censoring other people for dogmatic reasons.
Right. Well, I just think that censoring absolutely is always going to be wrong. So I guess my argument would be, yeah, I don't want to censor somebody, but I want somebody accessible, but I don't want Einstein and asshole to have the same amount of power. So again, I want some way to discriminate between Einstein and asshole, just like I want some mechanism to tell the difference between a video that's really good that has, 100 views and a video that's an absolute piece of shit that has 10 million views. And currently we don't have any of those mechanisms because nothing's judged by any kind of real standard. But I get you totally. I mean, I was kicked out of a lot of message boards, you can imagine, and not because I was saying anything rude or obnoxious, just because people didn't want my opinion spoken.
Well, I mean, I usually did say something quite rude by the time I got kicked out, to be honest. And I learned a lot. I learned how to do things differently, and that if I wanted the conversation, you know, that there's multiple levels to how you have conversation. But I didn't start the thing. I would just say, hey, you know, words don't have, they have multiple definitions. Look at a dictionary, because these people were debating what the exact words were. They were like, you know, it was a board full of English teachers that happened to really get off on what's the exact word of silver. What's the exact definition of silver? You know, I mean, really, and I'm like, words have multiple definitions. You look at any dictionary. And, you know, I mean, maybe it was even naive, considering they were talking about some esoteric subject where you assume it does have one best. But, you know, their reaction was so emotional, and that's just one, I use that as an epitome, because, yeah, it happened over and over, that I would blame them. But I do have to say, I learned the fact was, you know, and then they'd call me a name, and I would try to be really striking back to them, and then they would be shocked at how hurtful I was, and then I'd get kicked. So, yeah, and so I want both sides of this. I actually want those people, everybody who ever kicked me was a jerk, but even those people, I want them that have the right to moderate their communities. And I realize if somebody has a knitting community, they might be really crazy about who they're blocking and whatnot. And yet somebody that wants to watch a knitting community anyway, or somehow take part in a subculture of anti-knitting community, you know, they should be able to do that too. So it's like both sides should be served. And frankly, I think I've moved more to the, as I grow older, I move more to the other side. I really see no reason to disturb a bunch of fools that want to talk about something a particular way anymore. I used to feel like I've got to pop their stupid bubble. They're not in reality. But I'll leave that to the 22-year-old.
Yeah, well, like I said, if I saw more value in what people do end up arguing in text, I would, you know, be more concerned about it. But I guess I don't see much value. I mean, it's got to be promoting something bigger. So I'm still more focused on how do we get people to write. You know, how, like, say somebody writes an article, and the article, instead of people rewriting the same article, that you actually improve the one that's already been written. So that's sort of where I'm heading, and I'm heading for this idea of making a video that is, you know, that keeps getting improved, like an argument and a frame of argument, and improving things rather than just, you know, I mean, it's important to have a mechanism that allows for fairness, and so I'm all for all those mechanisms, but I also want something that promotes things improving.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can keep stuff. I mean, I wish the YouTube does. I wish the YouTube API was even better, but it could be done where, like, if you have clips identified that you like of your own video, say, or someone else's, whatever, but of your own, you know, that it saves those, makes a video of those, and keeps the fact that they're different clips too, so you can, you know, do a quick auto upload to, you know, replace a segment between two or whatever. You know, you have an editor that has all the clips, and you can say, oh, I want to insert one between these two, and just keep working on something like that. And then the cool thing about that is, for me, where I don't like high production values, eventually I'd work on the production values. Once I like the argument, because I just don't want to work on production values when the argument is, I'm not that excited about it. But once you got your argument done, you'd say, oh, there was audio in the background, or I'll do it in the day so people don't have to hear frogs, or I'll insert some graphics, you know, because I really need a graphic here. I agree, that would be ideal, just to be doing, you know, it might, on your 7 favorite subjects, you might make other kinds of stuff and what the fuck videos or whatever, but on your favorite 7 subjects or whatever, you would be you would have 7 videos that you kept working on. You might have other ones you make, there's no limit, but you have a video in that subject that, here, this is the best clips of my best videos on it, plus some clips made to fill in, or, I agree. That would be kind of hard to the current technology unless you did have your own server, and then you could do it because you just download the videos, and if you have the videos on your server, you could go ahead and take the clips. You could easily do that, but you need an expensive server is the thing. It's not, cheap servers wouldn't work for something like that.
Yeah, well, I don't think you need to do the server thing necessarily, but yeah, I mean, the idea is just to improve and create mechanisms that encourage the argument to improve, I guess is all I'm saying. So I think that's combining both text and video style, and the right person saying the right things,
Way not to do it with a server would just be make some software that people could run on their own machine that downloaded their own video, got the clip database or had its own system built in, and then it could do that, and then it would just generate movies that got uploaded.
Yeah, well, 10 years from now we'll probably have something like that. Editors will get that good, I guess, but yeah, right now it's too much work to take old and try to make it new. But I'm just saying the argument itself needs to be, each argument about each subject in the universe needs to be dissected, and it needs to be modularized, so you know what the pieces and the foundations are, so you don't have to just, like I said, there's just so much redundancy. That's what's got to be weeded out.
Like, what exactly were you talking about, by the way, if you're here, Piro? Is he talking about, like, post-production, like editing videos after you've uploaded them or something?
Well, no, it's just sort of, yeah, sort of in a way, it's just kind of like saying, like, say if you had videos on a server, theoretically you could run them into a player, and you could take 1 minute from this video, 3 minutes from that video, 2 minutes from this video, and have it all, seamless in terms of how it was presented.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, annotations kind of work like that. You can reference certain videos at certain points. You can make edits. You can like do like small time editing and stuff. It's quite nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen it really do much yet. I mean, I haven't seen anybody do much with those
some
tools.
people use it better than others.
Hey Gary, how big's your penis?
Big enough. Jeez, easy question to answer.
10 feet easily. Probably weighs like, what does it weigh? Like a ton? 2 tons maybe?
Yeah, well, I don't even exaggerate that much.
Gary, have you ever had sex with a dog?
Oh, whatever. No, I haven't.
The penis doesn't fit. So, of course not.
Ha! Got you before you can even fuck. I'm sorry, I fucking kicked him before he. I was trying to wait before he talked to kick him.
Well, I was banning him, but it doesn't matter. Now that you have a survey for banning, you have to tell Stickham why you're banning somebody. Seems kind of stupid.
But yeah, Pyro, if you're here now, what about annotations for like referencing videos and stuff? You can even use annotations to reference certain minutes, minutes into the video.
Yeah, well, that's what his tool does. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, so he's going to try to maximize on that a little more, and you can, start and stop clips to go with those annotations. So yeah.
Yeah, so it does that. What we were talking about, because Gary had this idea of it'd be nice to have something like that that would help you remake videos and and keep the part you like.
Post-production.
And maybe I'm just saying that's kind of hard but sort of doable. And I was talking a little bit on how you could make something, an editor wouldn't have to be too full featured. And I think we are pretty close to where there's definitely commercial libraries that'll help you build a tool like that. Pretty easy, but you have to pay someone, development type prices, thousands of dollars to get their system probably. But in the open source stuff in the next 5 or 10 years, so it is a little early. That part gets hard. But yeah, doing the annotations, and also I've realized you can easily have 2 video players. So I can have annotations where you could go watch a video on a website with 2 players, and it stops one player and starts the other one, and does synchronized stuff. So like, you wouldn't even have to film the other person's video you wouldn't have to turn your camera to the other person's video, because if they watch the player at this website, then it would just play the other person's video. That might not be more convenient actually, but what I would like that for is because there's copyrighted stuff, where if you put the AP clip in your thing, or some comedy, you're trying to do commentary, your own dub track of commentary on, Monty Python skit, YouTube will nail you, and this would be a way to go ahead and have that copyrighted material play, and you don't get a flag. And so people, and there's a lot of important things like that. Like if students wanted to comment on AP news releases, those are copyright, and those guys will come after you to start doing the video, and you might be a student and defend yourself, but you might not be. Whereas there would be no problem like that. So with multiple players, there's a lot of stuff you can do that's similar, but actually taking the video and like editing it, it's true that it's really hard to do that. And all the open source stuff is buggy as hell that does it.
You wouldn't need to rebuild videos neither if you just want one player. You could just do overlays and do pauses and place different videos in the same player.
That's true. To play 2 different videos requires a bad initialization time, so you wouldn't want to do that. As far as going full bore, yeah, you can do overlays. You can also do even easier just things on the side. You can do augmented stuff. It's easy. The YouTube player allows it. The Flow player, which is open source, allows it.
Yeah, because rebuilding videos would be a real hassle, like if you need to actually edit them.
Right, yes, exactly, it would. If I was saying that's probably tens of years away before. But as a software engineer, I don't need to wait till the software does it. I just need to wait till there's libraries. It usually is 5 or 10 years before you get the cheap, good software for that there's some commercial solutions available for developers. People that write those kind of libraries but don't want to write the application. And there are some good libraries like that now, just depending on how much,
Not that hard to write the libraries either. I mean, the API for Flash isn't like the hardest thing in the world to deal with.
Yeah, well, I just think this is past what I'm thinking of. I'd rather the content actually improve, not that you be able to remix bad content. So I guess I'm still going to argue that I think it'd be easier just to make new better. And as long as people are encouraged to do that, to make new, then, as long as they're rewarded, I mean, what's the point of making a video if it's going to get 15 views? Whereas if you were encouraged because you're going to make a better video than the video that has 100,000 views on the subject, that you'd have some incentive to actually do that. All right, till next time, and such.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Mr. Wise, thank you.
I still really like the idea of having a video community based on threads or seeds, like having threaded discussions that you can the thread starter could start as a moderator, and he could promote others to moderators, and you could vote people to moderators in certain threads and stuff. So you can have discussions that actually come to conclusions, and you can, as a moderator, you can choose which videos are mandatory to watch if you want to make another video in that discussion and stuff.
Yeah, I just don't know how much, I mean, I want a hierarchy, I just don't know, moderator is always a tricky word, but,
yeah, but you can do it, through voting and stuff, from, once you establish legitimacy in users, that's the hardest part, but once you've actually done that, I think actually having the content be moderated in a way, I think that could work really well. as long as you do it on a micro scale, like within threads, like within seeds or whatever.
Yeah, well, even if you had 2 separate message boards for every message board, or 2 separate arrangements or compilations, and on one of them, almost like a wiki page or something, where you could editorialize about the character of what's being said, or who's allowed to comment, or how things have been rated, so you could even editorialize about how the moderators are functioning. That might even be worthwhile, just as a way to keep moderators honest.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't get too complicated. I mean, the average person should still like be able to get into the top of it. That's why I want it to be like a micro scale of moderation. So it's not like Wikipedia where you need to like be a member for a million years to become some sort of a moderator. You can just do it per topic instead.
Yeah, and well, wikis are also way too controlled by, you know, pop culture and popular opinion. So it's like once, you know, that hierarchy has way too much power. And there almost should be like alternative wiki pages where, yeah, maybe they're not the first page displayed, and maybe the information isn't all there, but the other editorial content is available.
Yeah, I mean, you could just start your own thread on the exact same topic if you wanted to. I mean, the important thing would be that the thread that you want to start, the topic that you want to discuss, actually reaches a conclusion, rather than whatever. We invent machines to replace humanity. I'm John Bean.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay, it works.
Yeah.
Ah, Brett Keane is back. Yeah, I heard your test.
The lag was atrocious earlier. I had to go. Just freezing out.
It's clogging up the intertubes.
It is kind of funny that we put Samari to sleep.
So what do you think about the new stick-in changes, Gary?
No, I guess it's okay. I mean, it's probably, I mean, I don't know. I'll have to find out whether the group stays, the group stays permanent. I guess that's a good idea, but I don't, you know, I haven't seen how it all works out yet. Obviously, people don't, you know, they have to join this group, I guess, for me to make them moderator, so I've got to teach some people to do that.
Seems like they're putting priority to make videos not lag at least. The chat is lagging really hard for me right now. It takes like, I don't know, several minutes for a message to get through. But the videos are not lagging for me. I'm getting perfect audio, and I think I'm transmitting perfectly as well. They used to have like no priority at all, so like the login screen could take a long time to load before you could even get into the room.
Yeah, it was over Dobbin here earlier, so that's probably where most of the lag was coming from.
They don't seem to have localized servers neither, so like dynamic towards the people coming in. Because I'm like in Sweden, I'm on 100 megabit fiber connection, but the chat is still lagging, so that's weird. Text messages shouldn't be a problem for my fiber 100 megabit connection.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, it's probably all, you know, it depends on where the server is. So, but yeah, it seems okay to me. I can't really tell because I'm not typing, but I mean, it seems like it's somewhere close to appropriate.
In the States, somewhere totally appropriate.
Yeah, I got like 10 seconds lag on my comments here.
I have no second flag. Jesus. Yeah, nothing. Half a second.
Well, that's good. Now we can participate in the chat perfectly.
Yes, yes, that's what I come to Stickam for.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we gotta start a new conversation here.
Actually surprised at how fast this night's gone.
Yeah, well, it seems like long to me. I'm damn tired. It's only 5:30. Shit.
Every day seems like a year, and then it all blends together, and it feels like a second.
I guess. But I probably doubt that.
And then you're dead. And it doesn't seem like anything at all.
I don't know. I feel like I've lived about 17,000 lives. Well, that's rather rude.
You know, it's fucking
You
funny.
do have a
I
lucky
kicked
car.
that fucking cocksucker earlier out of here fucking tonight.
You shouldn't have banned them, or like, can you ban people instead of just kicking? Can you kick them?
Yeah, I don't even know what banning means anymore. But yeah, now that the groups are permanent, I guess you could, when you ban somebody, it'd be permanent from that group, so that might be useful. Yeah, but they ask you a bunch of stupid questions, like why are you banning them? It's kind of irritating, so it takes you a
I
little
can
while.
ban people now.
Well, that's good. Full moderator power.
Might as well as a Dev 69 guy. I've never seen him say one nice ass thing while being in this room. None of the times.
Yeah, but some people fucking like it for whatever reason. So I try to give them the fucking benefit of the doubt.
Who?
Some of you are having lag still. Try freezing some of the cams of people that aren't talking. That kind of helps.
Seems a reasonable suggestion. Oh. Yeah, I kicked one guy out just for playing that stupid suicide video over and over again. I mean, I don't mind a loopy video now and then, but man, that's just such a bad loop to do over and over and over again.
Oh, what the
Kinda disturbing.
politician dude?
Yeah.
And the guy who took his own life on air or whatever. It was kind of cool, but yeah, kind of disturbing to just loop that over and over with blood running out of his nose and shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying you could do it for a minute or something, but yeah, I just don't see the point in that running over and over. I mean, who the fuck wants to look at that over and over? I mean, it's just, really bad porn.
You know, if you ever, like, read up on the story of that dude, Bud Dwyer, it's really fucking sad. He was a scumbag fucking politician, but he basically got fucking scapegoated.
Yeah, well, I don't know nothing about him and don't really care, but, that's the way I am. Yeah, well, she's getting a good rest. I wish I could sleep through the cam. That would be good.
You should try that one time, Gary. Just like record a bunch of stuff and have it play throughout the whole night, and just see if anybody notices the difference.
Yeah, that would be funny. I think they probably know. Probably a little bit off subject. I suppose you could come up with innocuous statements, you know, just where you say, "Oh, fuck you people, you're boring," or something.
Yeah, just record all the rage moments where you like get mad at people, and then have moderators kick people randomly so it looks like you're active.
Yeah, well, you're a weird guy. A real apocalypse-y guy. You're a little bit spooky.
By the way, Gary, I don't know if you saw it, but Samira posted that crazy woman who was in here earlier. She did a video to you.
Yeah, I saw the link.
Poor old lady.
Yeah, well, whatever. She's, you know, she's inspired. I just forgot.
Yeah,
It's inspired. I am, not ham. Whatever. Close enough. She's loopy, she is. When people continue on about this whole life is great, I'm so hopeful track, don't you think that's the DNA molecule talking? I really don't, no. I mean, DNA is kind of crude and brutish. I mean, it's, you know, the objective is just to keep people alive, but it doesn't, culture is so separate from the DNA, so to me that's just culture talking. I mean, obviously cultures have been motivated. You know, I mean, what has driven cultural evolution? Well, pretty much war, right? Who won the wars? The psychotic, crazy, oh yeah, it's worth it, let's kill them and steal their stuff. Or, you know what I'm saying? You had to be, like, highly motivated, you know, to think there was some kind of purpose. So, you know, so it's always been dominated by these wacky religious nuts and the rest of them who could justify the brutality of war. So I'm just saying, I think all that crap is just a cultural artifact, not a DNA artifact. Yeah, well, culture is pretty much a definition of reality. I mean, in its roots or its core. So, I mean, it's not irrelevant. I mean, it's sort of important. And so the bottom line is that, you know, cultures are a failure if their vision of reality is nonsensical. Well, I just don't know how you can not have culture. I mean, it's pretty hard not to have culture. So the point is to have a culture that appreciates the truth, one that values things that are important, you know, like integrity and honesty and all that crap. Yeah, well, science is logic, so I don't even know whether you have to go. I mean, the word science is just so tricky nowadays. is, science is almost, it's, the industrial scientific complex. I mean, scientists have kind of sold their soul.
I think it's more of a problem of pop science. Science is becoming more and more ingrained into the pop culture, so it's becoming more fluff and shit, really.
Well, I guess that's what I'm sort of saying, is that it's kind of lost its integrity. There's too much pseudoscience, that's been given it's like art or anything else. I mean, the word art doesn't mean a hell of a lot anymore. Because, they let anybody in, that doesn't work.
I was actually thinking about that the other day. It's like, why come we don't have, more classical art? I mean, there's more people now, so it should fucking, go to figure that you would at least get, another Rembrandt or fucking Mozart or something, but no, you don't.
Well, I think you do get Mozarts, but now they're doing it with different instrumentality. So I think a lot of that space music, this classical music, it just has a newer form. So I think there is a lot of classically structured music. It's pretty brilliant shit. Yeah, well, Mozart, I didn't think much of a lot of Mozart, but yeah, there's a couple of Mozarts that are brilliant. So, but that's like I said, I'm like that with all of them. I mean, I wouldn't want to listen to the entire repertoire of any of them. Well, too bad. Yeah. Viking guy. You probably deserve a little bit of misery.
Have you ever invested in the stock market, Gary?
Oh, a long time ago. 30 years ago.
Kind of thinking about learning how it works. Well, it's not gambling really. It's like gambling, except I mean you can cover your bases quite well, as opposed to other types of gambling, like even poker or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much way to cover your bases now. I mean, it's always going to cost more to sell short, and so yeah. I mean, the market's going down hard, so no one's going to be covered if they're anything else but selling short.
I actually had a short when you guys got downgraded to AA plus. I mean, because I figured, either nothing's gonna happen or you're gonna get downgraded and you can make a lot of money from a short.
Yeah, but the trick is now is the way the games are playing now is they're going to be creating so much inflation, that the market's going to end up going up, but it's going to go down in real dollars. That's sort of what's happening now. Is real inflation is much higher than people are than is being accounted for. I mean, a higher percentage of people's income is going to pay for food, basic necessities. So their consumption dollars are getting weaker and weaker, and but like I said, when money's inflated, the market won't go down, but it won't go up as much as inflation. So you'll be losing money even in an up market, just because the currency is turning into shit.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, more money is always good, even if it gets devalued. Like, what else are you gonna do?
Well, I'm just saying, there's lots of else. Yeah, there's lots of other commodities to buy that might protect you better. At some point, even owning land will be a good investment again. But there's going to be assets that are overvalued, and I'm just saying the stock market is way overvalued.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good for long-term stuff. But if you're looking at short-term, I mean, getting to like learning the stock market system seems like a good thing.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, everybody says, I'm sure there's assholes saying that in 1927 and 28, and and then 29 rolls around and you're all fucking dead.
Fuck the system, Ignatius. We should go back to having like a socket level of societies we live in, instead of just having everything be globalized and big government and shit. Everything centralized. The individual taking second seat to the collective.
Oh, the individual's an asshole. I mean, fuck that shit. I want one fucking government. I don't want a bunch of little shit raggy governments. I want the efficiencies. Yeah, well, whatever. I'm sick of all these inefficiencies.
Yeah, so am I, but I wouldn't believe that one government would be a good government. I think you need to have
choices. Well, that's
choices.
just stupid. It's just stupid. It's stupid. You write one good constitution, period. You don't have slavery over here, and you don't have, go ahead and beat your wife over here, and go ahead and be a drunk driver over here. Fuck all that shit. You do it right, and you do it once. Fuck all this bullshit.
Yeah, like, if there was a one world government that was basically like the United States is now, or Canada, or Great Britain, I don't think a lot of people would be like, ooh, one world government bad.
Well, it's just stupid. Borders are the problem. The less borders you have, the fucking better.
What about cultures? Should we have just one culture for like everyone?
Well, whatever. I don't give a. I have no use for culture. It's a meaningless concept to me. I mean, certainly we should have one language. That would certainly help.
English kinda is the world language.
Yeah, well, I really don't give a fuck. Pull one out of the fucking hat and just say everybody's gonna speak this from now on. You're fine with me.
Didn't they try to make up like a one world language like back in the 70s or something, like SBO or something?
Yeah, well, that DJ guy, he's big on that, whatever it is.
Esperanto, yes, Men's Rifle Association had it right.
You kind of need a language that's already established, though. I mean, that's why English is the world language at the moment.
No, well, we know why it's the world's language. It's because it's what the world's currency is written in. So, but you know, the point is maybe it's not the, maybe it's not the best language. But you know, I mean, I think obviously the Asian languages have huge limitations. So I think they kind of fail. But you know, as a descriptive language, I don't know. I've heard German is supposed to be pretty good, or even French. Yeah, well, the point is having a language where the words actually mean something, which would be nice.
I think Swedish or one of the Dutch ones is like one of the most concise and clearest.
Swedish isn't that different from English. That's why it's so easy for most Swedes to learn English. Like, most Swedes actually speak English quite well, better than most countries.
Yeah, well, like I said, so let's throw the top 10 languages in the hat and pull one and just say every kid will be taught this language. They can learn other languages, but they'll know this one.
Well, as I said, they can already do that. I mean, they teach English in schools, at least here. They do it in the majority of countries.
Well, I'm just saying, the point is whether it should be done as a mandatory thing, and that's the point. The point is it doesn't do any fucking good to have a universal language if it ain't fucking universal.
It's mandatory here, at least.
Wow, gee, is that so? Sweden's the whole world, huh? Wow, I didn't know that. I thought it was old tiny European piss hole.
At least.
Yeah, you got what, a whole 10 billion people there or something? 10 million?
Yeah, but we are the ones that matter, so it's okay.
Yeah, whatever. Well, I'm just saying, if you write a good constitution, Germans have a pretty good constitution. If you write a good constitution, then that's all you fucking need.
I don't know if Sweden has a constitution. At least I'm not aware of it. It does exist.
Yeah, well, look, it's really easy to have good living conditions, right, when you don't have the same kind of problems of, countries that have been immigrant countries for 200 years, 300. Yeah, well, zeitgeist fails in its conclusion. I mean, a resource-based economy is a pile of shit.
Thinking Somalia, man. Kinda messed up.
I know this might make me sound like an asshole, but I love Somalia because every time I ever get into an argument with an anarchist, I just go Somalia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't think
anarchist would argue with you about that. I mean, there's a difference between a failed state and an anarchy. I mean,
failed state, it's not a state, it's a state of anarchy. But regardless, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into the argument of anarchy. I mean, the fucking British Empire is an argument against anarchy. Anarchy created the British Empire. Anarchy created kings, noblemen, owners. That's what anarchy creates, owners.
hey, so did we talk about the guy in Sweden who, or was it Norway? I forget.
Who cares? Who cares? I mean, really, who cares? Oh, what? There's 7 billion people on planet Earth, and some of them go wacky. Oh, what a fucking surprise.
Yeah, there's no real like meaning or sense behind that story really. I mean, he did get the high score, so I mean that's something.
Yeah. Pick the right, I guess, you know, I guess that's what you gotta do, is just go somewhere and start shooting where no cop can get to you for a half an hour. Yeah, I just wish the news would cover something that actually mattered. I mean, all this, you know, they're always chasing this shit, like this is what defines us, and it defines the aberrance.
Well, Gary, you're shit out of luck then, because it's run up to the presidency, so that's all that's going to be on the news for the next year and a half.
Oh, I guess.
So is Mitt Romney gonna get president?
But I don't bother. Unfortunately, I don't bother watching the news. Yeah, well, who cares? Again, the election isn't until next year, so who cares? None of this shit matters.
Is Ron Paul running for this presidency?
Yeah, he's running for his.
Running to see what's happening.
He ain't going to go anywhere.
It's a nutcase. It's pretty funny.
Well, they're all nutcases. They're all liars or nutcases. That's all there are. Liars and nutcases.
I saw some shit about that like the good presidents in the U.S. have been the ones that had like mental disorders, so they're looking for the ones running to see who has the best mental disorders to run the country properly.
Yeah. Well, what was Roosevelt's mental disorder? Just curious.
I can't remember. They were talking about like manodepressiveness and stuff like that at least.
Oh, yeah, like something every human has. Oh, I get it.
You know, I just wish some of this fucking anger that people are feeling over the debt shit would actually go and change something. It's like, I've been thinking about this. Why come the Republicans have the Tea Party, but there's no progressive left-wing fucking version of that shit?
Well, I guess it's because the issues aren't as simple. You know, I mean, it's very simple for the Tea Party. It's, you know, niggers suck and rich guys are cool. So, I mean, it's a really simple ideology. So, you know, they're easy to please. But progressiveness takes a lot more, you know what I mean? You're not going to easily agree. So I guess that's part of the problem.
And it's easy to be a teabagger as well. It's not hard to be done.
It just
Like
pisses
if
me
you,
off because I'm like, the fucking Tea Partiers are actually doing what they fucking want to. Why come it's always the fucking right that's fucking well organized?
Well, like I said, it's a simple, because the organization is around very simple themes. I mean, it's easy to be I mean, it's pretty easy to be anti-government, right? It's pretty hard to be government that works. I mean, government that works requires a plan and a strategy, and you got to qualify, and you got to be precise about what you invest in and what you don't invest in. You know, being for nothing is really easy.
yeah, when you see interviews with like these teabagging people, no one actually knows anything. Like when they're out protesting, they don't actually know anything. They're just fucking out there being dumb as shit, and that's easy to do. Like if you're gonna do a real cause where you actually need to know stuff about the subject to make a rational conclusion, to actually be upset over something or whatever, that's kind of different. Much harder than just being dumb and going out doing fucking riots like in the UK.
Yeah, well, I don't even see the point in even initiating a conversation about communism. You don't need to go that far. I mean, all you have to do is establish more fairness in the systems we have. You can have incentives. You just have to protect against monopolies and legacy ownership. I mean, you know, the fact that it's a huge unfairness that you give power and control over the system to people who didn't do any work to earn it is quite stupid.
All these isms, like communism and stuff, all that does is they take like, they bunch together so many different arguments that it's just stupid. Like some of them might be really good, some of them like might be bad. It's just retarded to label them all under like communism or socialism and stuff like that.
Well, I don't think they
Doesn't
do.
help the subject like at all.
But whatever. I mean, the distinction is one is taking complete control over an economic system, where I don't think you have to do that. You can have freedom, but you have to have freedom within a boundary of rules. So it's like, you know, you don't have to abolish. Well, I don't even know how to say it. I mean, you still have a game. You just have a game with referees. Cultural Marxism is a pile of shit anyway. What the fuck is that? Just make crap up.
That's the new boogeyman on the far right, is cultural Marxism.
Why would I understand it? Why would I even try to understand something that's a perversion of logic and people's ideology? I'm sure you don't even know what Marx said. Yeah, well, earning and being fairly compensated for your productive work is not the same thing as greed. People don't need greed. All they want is fairness.
But money is bigger than that. At least in our society, currently.
Yeah, right. So you like to steal stuff. Is that what you're saying? The greedy want to steal. It's that simple. They want to exploit, they want to take what they didn't earn.
Should have like a rating system where you're as an individual is like rated at certain points, and then you have access to certain services.
Yeah,
And
well, I
then
bet
money
you,
would
I
just be a
bet you,
background
I
process.
bet you don't earn it.
Well, that's up to the creators of the system.
Or whatever. So no one creates the system, you inherit a system. Or whatever. I mean, it's not neurotic hatred to find multiculturalism to be a pile of shit. I mean, frankly, there's no fucking use to multiculturalism. It's of no fucking value. There's nothing to be. What benefit is there in having fuckwits speak different languages? You know, having everything written in 17 languages. There's no efficiency. There's no value in any of that shit.
People have started judging cultures almost in the same way that they do races. Like you're, at least here in this country, people are talking about like if you're against a certain culture, that's almost the same thing as being a racist, which is just completely fucking stupid. I think you can judge a culture exactly as much as you want because it's nothing but behavior.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bunch of memes and norms. I mean, so fine. I mean, you know. So what diversity should there be? I don't see any reason to have any diversity. I mean, we have to tolerate it just because it's fucking the way the world is, but there's nothing valuable about multiculturalism. It's just useless.
But it isn't really diversity neither. I mean, the cultures that are coming in are of like a majority somewhere, like an entire country's culture and stuff like that. So it's almost like large corporations fighting for power over consumers. It's silly. It's not.
Yeah, well, tolerance for what? You know, tolerance just goes way too far. I mean, I'm perfectly tolerant until you're expecting me, you know, to bend to my culture to suit your culture. And that's the bullshit. You come to this country and then you expect this country to start speaking Spanish or something? Fuck you.
Yeah, we made some mistakes here of like taking in too many immigrants and putting them in the same area so that they actually establish their own culture within that area from where they come from. And it's a big problem in one of the areas here. But quite silly, quite short-sighted. So all they talk about is, oh, we have to treat them like humans, not care about what their culture is. I'm like, yeah, you have to care about what their culture is because, like, fuck it, if they're from a culture that's messed up, don't fucking put them all in the same place.
Well, whatever. The bottom line is, if I moved to China, I would expect that I would have to acclimate to their world. I wouldn't go there expecting them to acclimate to mine.
Yeah, and that's usually how it is if it's just you going. But imagine if like 10,000 Americans would.
Yeah, well, even if I was 10,000 Americans, I'd still feel like an invader in somebody else's fucking country. Why the fuck would I think I have a right to establish a little America in the middle of China? I think that's fucking rude as hell.
Yeah, that's the same way of thinking, but most people don't think that.
Well, I'm just saying that's why I'm saying the whole thing is a pile of shit, and
yeah,
culture sucks. It just doesn't do us any fucking good whatsoever. Yeah, whatever. Individualism is way overrated. You should first try to qualify as a human fucking being, and then be an individual within that classification. But if you can't make it to being a fucking human being, then yeah, fuck your individuality. Oh, yeah, well that's just so, convenient. I mean, really. Oh, gee, diverse schools actually increase racist attitudes. Oh, that's right, so when you force conflicting things within, range of each other, there's more conflict. Duh. No kidding, what a surprise. Yeah, good night again, Gray. Supposed to already be gone.
$12 o'clock in the middle of the day here and I got stuff to do. Oh, catch you later.
Oh, Billy dope. Ah, 6 o'clock in the morning here and it's raining. It sucks. Yeah, see you, Johns. I'll have to argue with you one of these days because you say a lot of shit that I really say, why the fuck is he saying that? But whatever. Yeah, well, today I'm gonna sleep because I'm damn tired. I was damn tired yesterday and damn tired today. Damn tired the day before that. Damn tired for a while. Ugh.
Yeah, I like how my dad is one of these religious nuts, and he thinks he knows more than he thinks he's like way smarter than me because he's older than me, and like when he sees scientists on TV, he says they think they know everything just because there's
Yeah, they went
always
to
gonna
school and
be
they
a bit of
read books and
speculation
stuff.
involved in right.
Yeah, well, the religious are just so obnoxious. But, that's the nature of the beast. Obnoxious. Oh.
was thinking actually you don't even need to talk about evolution to disprove religion. You could make the assumption that creationism is true, and then you could bring up this bit about the unintelligent design, and like another example would be how a religious person could consider life a test, and then you could bring about the issue of suffering in the world, which a religious person would say, oh yeah, it's part of the test. But the problem is, though, there's an unequal distribution of suffering. Some people go years through their life when they get a splinter in their finger, and some guys, locked in a basement being tortured or whatever. So I think it's more relevant to point out the fact that suffering is unequally distributed than the fact of just saying suffering exists.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, though, isn't it? So, I mean, I don't even know why you even have to argue about the fact that, we get lucky and we get unlucky. I think everybody sort of got that figured out.
Well, a better analogy would be you spending a year studying for a test, and then someone else gets an easier test, then you get a harder one, and then you're claiming that's fair, whatever analogy,
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think that's I don't think that's the obstacle. The problem is people are born into, a social club of religion. And that's the real binding force. People do not, people raised atheists do not often convert.
Well, if they are, they'd have to be, a Professor Anton type who comes to the conclusion truth by some emotional well-being, all that makes me feel good, so non sequitur, the philosophy around it has to make sense to some degree.
But that's the catch, is, you have to first define what you mean by atheism, and, we've sort of had this discussion before. I mean, if atheism means you can, believe in UFOs or alien, construction of the human race or some other kind of bullshit, well then, yeah, it's no different than a god. I mean, if atheism means you can believe a DNA molecule knows what it's doing, I mean, come on.
Oh, I even showed my dad one of your videos, and he says, oh, I don't like this guy, he has no hope. But it's like, that's the whole point, right? You don't have any false hope.
Yeah, I mean, give me reason and I'll be as hopeful as anything. I mean, what, is there any advantage for anyone ever to be hopeless? I mean, realistically, come on. How could that be selfish or to somebody's personal advantage or anything? I mean, not having hope is, you don't win by not having hope.
Thing is, though, even if you didn't have hope, it's completely irrelevant. It's like when theists bring up the issue of, morality. Well, even if every atheist was a mass-murdering kiddie fiddler, it wouldn't prove a God exists. It's just attempting to bring a sense of order to justify a belief. There's more order in our group, therefore it is a reflection of the universal truth, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I know, but hope has a consequence, so that's the catch there. I mean, hope will allow you to rationalize or defend all kinds of behaviors that you wouldn't be able to defend without it. So, antinatalism being a perfect example. I mean, without the hope that the human race can contrive some sort of useful functionality, yeah, you don't really have a choice but to be antinatalist. Yeah, I mean, we'll hope that on a personal level it's going to do you a lot of good, but yeah, it's a lie, so fuck it.
You must have had a very slow week, Gary. I see you filmed my video, thank you.
Yeah, well, it was almost consistent and coherent.
There was a few moments in it where I was a bit
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just by your standards, so I said, well, this is good enough. I will say okay to this one.
There you go.
I like that when people say thank you for, well, thank you for not thinking it was a complete piece of shit.
Yeah. Thank you for not punching me in the face.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't much. It was just better than your usual turd.
Yeah, my problem is I speak off the cuff. I need to start making notes when I get these ideas in my head. I'm just like, ooh yeah, big light bulb goes in my head. Not very bright. But,